Hi, I am John DiCandeloro, and I'm the collections manager at the Alaska Native Language Archive, sometimes called ANLA or ANLA. During this presentation, I will introduce you to ANLA, show off some of our collections, and demonstrate how to navigate our online catalog. Hopefully, this will encourage more public use of some of the truly invaluable resources held by the archive. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that the Alaska Native Language Archive, as well as the University of Alaska Fairbanks Trothia campus, is located on the ancestral lands of the Chena people, whom we thank for their care and stewardship. So what is the Alaska Native Language Archive? ANLA is a physical and digital collection of Alaska Native language resources located on the first floor of the Rasmussen Library at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. We hold over 15,000 items, including recordings, transcriptions, translations, dictionaries, place names maps, and linguistics field notes. We hold records on all Alaska Native languages and some related languages, such as Casca and Navajo. ANLA's parent organization, the Alaska Native Language Center, or ANLC, was founded by state legislation in 1972, and ANLA was formally established as a professional archive in 2009. Before that, the collection was ANLC's in-house reference collection, collected and curated by the late Professor Michael Krause, who aimed to consolidate everything in or on Alaska Native languages. Today, in order to support ANLC's mission of documenting, promoting, cultivating, and revitalizing Alaska Native languages and culture, the archive houses documentation of the various Native languages of Alaska and helps to preserve and cultivate this unique heritage for future generations. As the premier repository worldwide for information relating to the Native languages of Alaska, ANLA is responsible for conserving and facilitating access to documentation and resources on Alaska's 20+ Native languages, including through partnerships with Native organizations across the state. We serve researchers, teachers, and the Alaska Native communities. So what's available at ANLA? We hold both published and unpublished materials. Original records include things like linguistic field notes and audio and video recordings. Published materials include things like books, reprints, copies of materials held in other archives, and copies of Alaska Native Language Center publications. The archive's reference collection on the second floor of Rasmussen also houses published materials which support research within these collections. The uniqueness of ANLA's collection lies partly in this concentration of materials. The collection also includes important documentation on the development of literacy and education in these Alaskan languages, including the development of writing systems, lesson plans, and educational materials. It's not just a linguistic archive, it's also education and history. In order to promote public access to these invaluable language resources, a large amount of our collections are digitized and freely available through the website. So using the website. The primary access point for our collections is our website, located at uaf.edu/ANLA, or through your favorite search engine by just searching UAF ANLA. There we go. The website contains our online catalog and links to view and download approximately 75% of the listed resources. The website works on both desktop and mobile, although sometimes the mobile version can be a little wonky. We're working on a website redesign right now that will hopefully make the website a little more intuitive and usable, but that probably won't be implemented for a few months. I'm saying that right now on February 23rd, 2022. So hopefully in a few months, we'll have a redesigned website up, but we'll see what the timeline is on that. So searching the website. From the homepage, there are several ways to search the archive. Here we have title, identifier, contributor, text, language, and collection fields, as well as an option to filter by text or audio. Searching by title will only search the titles of records as they appear in the catalog. So for example, if we search curriculum, this search will pull the type, so this will pull curriculum materials for languages such as Koyukon here, and then down here there's Tlingit, but also curriculum vitae for researchers affiliated with ANLC. Identifier is a unique call number assigned to each ANLA record. If you are new to using ANLA, I would recommend against searching by identifiers, since they can be a bit confusing and technical, right? But I'll return to this later. There are cases where searching by identifier can be a valid way of searching and combining it with other searches to produce more refined searches. Contributor refers to anyone involved in producing the materials found in the archive, such as authors, speakers, interviewers, compilers, or the person responsible for donating the records to ANLA. You can search by first name, last name, right? Anna McLean, right? Or you can search by last name, first name, right? Same results. Or, if you just know a bit of it, McLean, there you go. That's going to get a lot of the same results, since Edna McLean is one of the most prolific contributors to ANLA's collections. For the time being, you can only search by one contributor at a time, right? So down here we have, for example, Edna McLean and Michael Krauss. If I tried McLean and Krauss, yeah, no results found. So unfortunately, right now you can only search by one contributor at a time. Text will search both the titles of records and any descriptions that we have for those records. So this is going to be the most inclusive search field that we have. If you're looking for something similar to a Google search bar, this is going to be the closest that we have. So let's reproduce the curriculum search from before. And see, down here we have some of the same curriculum materials that we pulled before, but here, curriculum isn't in the description here. Why is this? What is it? So if we go into the resource details for this, we can see here in the description field, there's a curriculum B time, right? So the text search searched this description field as well, and so it pulled many more records as a result, right? There we have 89 results for a text search of curriculum. We have a drop-down menu. Let me clear this. Okay. We have a drop-down menu for languages, so that searches aren't thwarted by alternative spellings or different names of languages, especially over time. If you search for example, all ATNA records, which we could do right here by just searching that, got 430, at least on the online catalog. That doesn't mean that all these records are necessarily in ATNA, although a lot of them definitely are. But this means that they're all about ATNA in some way or somehow relate to ATNA. We also have a number of collections in the archive. Some of them are more useful than others. So in some cases, they're going to be the papers of a certain researcher or on a certain topic. In some cases, they might simply group materials by topic, which can and sometimes be quite useful. So for example, if we go down here to, there we go, place names, right? Yeah, so this is like a pretty useful collection of materials, right? This is something that you might not just get by searching place names, right? This has been kind of curated together. The collections are generally kind of works in progress. But they might be more or less useful depending on what you're searching for. Okay, down here at the bottom, you can filter your search to look only for text-based or for only audio records. It defaults to both. So for example, if we go back here and reproduce this search for ATNA, right, we have 430 results. If we filter this solely by audio, it gets down to 135, and these are all going to be audio records in some way. Or if we filter it only by text, here it's 188 results, and here we have things like field notes, right? Word lists, some more hard linguistics information, things like that. Okay, cool. If at any time you want to reset your search, you can click up here on Alaska Native Language Archive at the top, and it'll return all the search settings to the default. Now, I want to show you around a couple records to familiarize you with how things are laid out in our catalog. So up here, if I type in Aurora, for example, right, you'll notice that this result down here has this little CD icon next to it. That means that this record has attached media, which is usually a PDF or an audio file, such as a WAV or MP3. So if we enter into this record by clicking on the identifier, we can see here a short description, as well as additional comments, as well as contributors, a date, type, format, language coverage, and then also we have down here coverage. So coverage is usually not filled in. It usually refers to geographical coverage. So for example, like if the record is of a map or something like that, then the coverage field will probably be filled in with the relevant location. Or if it's a recording from a particular village, sometimes that will be included in the coverage field. We also have linguistic type down here. Generally refers to the kind of work that's represented, such as like lexicon or primary text or something like that, but this can usually be ignored, and there isn't a good way to search by these right now. This is just letting you know what's here in the resource details page. Unfortunately, hopefully in the future, whenever we redesign the website, you'll be able to search by these, but for the time being, that's a little bit difficult. So what really matters down here is this files field, right? So over here, you see the identifier with a PDF next to it. So here we go. If we click on that, that here pulls up a PDF scan of the document that this refers to, right? Here's the first page and the back page, right? Or front and back. Right. So this page is fully available to see or download. A ton of the Alaska Native Language Archive is available like this, right? So these materials are just freely available on the internet for you to access, use, download. Cool. Now let's go back and look at an audio file. So here I'm going to do a combined search, right? So I'm going to go down to language, and I am going to search by UPIC, and I'm going to filter by audio. Okay. All right. Down here at the top, we have UPIC songs, right? So same deal, right? We've got the identifier, we've got the title, we've got a description with descriptions of what we're on side A and side B of the cassette. The comments and date both specify dates, type of sound, format is audio X-Wave, the language is Yupik, Central Alaskan, and then down here in files again, we have these two .wave files. So if we click on this. Right? So this is available for free listening, free access. You can also download it out here on the side. And so here we have, this is going to be for side A, right? This is going to be for side B. Cool. So you can view these in your browser or download them to listen to later. All right. So in terms of services that the archive offers, so what happens if the document that you want to view isn't digitized, right? If it doesn't have that little CD icon next to it. Well, if it is an audio file, then reach out to us and we'll prioritize it for digitization. Also, if it's a reasonable quantity of paper files, let me know and I'll see if it's something that we can scan and put up in a timely manner. Down here at the bottom, there's some basic contact information for the archive. And I will also share my email address in a bit so that you can contact me directly. If you want to work with a larger quantity of materials or view them in person and you have the means to get to Fairbanks, reach out to me or the archive to schedule an appointment in the research room. So ANLA uses the Alaska and Polar Regions and Collections Archives, very nice research room on the second floor of Rasmussen Library at UAF, which is open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon and 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. I am also personally available for consultation during regular work hours. So again, like this number down here, 907-474-7436. If you call that number, I will probably be here in the office and available to answer your questions. If you would like to donate materials to ANLA or create a partnership with a local library or archive, please reach out to us. We have partnerships with a couple different archives to back up or facilitate access to culturally valuable materials, and we're open to collaboration. So a brief note about content on the website. So if in the course of using ANLA's materials, you notice anything sensitive that should be corrected, not be publicly available, or deserves additional guidance on culturally sensitive usage, please do not hesitate to let us know. Due to the pressing public interest in making native language materials available as resources for language preservation and revitalization, the archive prefers to digitize as much as we can. However, we also want to ensure that everything is done in a respectful and appropriate manner that honors the languages and speakers. So please don't be a stranger. We're open to collaboration. In terms of contact information, again, the archive can be reached by phone at 907-474-7436. This is down here. Or by email at uaf-anla@alaska.edu. I can also be reached at that same number or at my work email, jjdicandeloro@alaska.edu. That is jjdicandeloro@alaska.edu. Thank you very much for your time.